Okay, what is up, man?
Not much. What's up with you, man?
Not much. How you doing?
Good.
Let's start with you introducing yourself.
I'm Josh McDaniel. I also go by McMillie Man
And why did you choose the artist name you did?
because I love to make lots of millies.
Yeah. Okay. Big Millie guy. What was the first thing you made in glass?
Little pole bowls, little slides. We used to take a 5 mil rod. We'd put a stringer stripe down each side of the 5 mil rod, and then we'd fume a little bit on the end of a 12 mil tube, and then just coil that over the fuming and puff it out into a ball and push a bowl in it. And it was, like there was lots of cheap slides back then. Now
Yeah.
there's cheap glass on glass joint ones, but
Right.
they were pull bowls back then. So
Okay. Do you think you still have any of them?
nope,
No.
no.
Oh man, when do you think the last one you had, or did they all just sell immediately type thing?
I was doing them for a shop, for
Okay.
like in a production shop, so they had orders for them already.
Pretty sweet. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
How did you get started in glass?
A friend that I had worked with at a previous job hit me up. We both got laid off around the same time from the previous job, and he hit me up and said he thought I'd be good at glass blowing, and called me up and had me come try it out at his cousin's house, and kind of went from there. Had some good friends that were into glass already that showed me a bunch. GPS glass showed me a lot when I was really first getting my start, so
Okay.
that helped a lot.
And do you feel like you were pretty hooked immediately, or did it take a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit?
instantaneously.
Yeah.
Like the first day, I was like, "Oh, this is different than Like I had always felt like an art or like artistic before that, but I'd never really felt like an artist before I found glass, and like that was like when I knew like this is the medium I've been looking for, and this is the vibe that fits me. So,
Okay. So you named, I think, at least one, but who were some of the big influences when you started?
um, like GPS was a big influence because we were old school homies, like we're pre-glass friends, and then there's like like the big names back then were like Mickelson and Troutman, and all those guys were like really blowing it up, and they were like when I first got my start with the Eugene Glass School was really rocking, and a lot of those guys were coming out and doing classes, and so we'd if even if you didn't get to take a class, you'd bump into them over there, get to meet your like the dudes you looked up to, and they were all really cool, like like very you know gracious to us young idiot kids.
Young
So
Bucks. Were there big influences outside of glass, like other art forms or
yeah,
music?
I mean, Alex Gray was always a huge influence for me. His style and like the artwork that he does was always really resonated with me, but also like the motivation behind his work and why he does what he does, and um, I think that he's on the same kind of wavelength I like trying to say something with his work, and yeah, kind of grappling with some of the same things about who we are in the world and the universe and what that means and how to express that through your artwork.
Okay. Where did you first sell your glass?
Oh man, the first time I really sold a bunch of glass was probably I went to a festival and had a case of a bunch of my beginner pieces, and we waited till the festival was over, and when everybody was in a big long line to get all their cars out of the parking lot, I just started the exit and worked my way back into the parking lot through the line, and had my case open and like glass pipes. And they were not good, but I sold every one of them, and that like definitely lit a fire under me. So
Do you remember what the festival was?
Stinkfest in Portland.
Stinkfest.
Stinkfest.
Okay.
It was in the late '90s, and or I guess probably early 2000s, but it was a grunge music festival outside of Portland.
That's great.
Yeah.
Were there certain objects that you made at the start that you still make?
Um, yeah, I think my Native American stuff is stuff that I started making pretty early on in my career that I still like circle back to and use a lot of the same techniques. And I learned really early on. I took a mic playing class, and he was the first person I'd ever seen use any frits or frit powders on the outside of glass instead of, like it was still pretty early on in the frit thing, and people were pouring it inside tubes and melting it in and making production work. But I'd never seen anybody like apply it on the outside and use it for the texture and the like organic kind of vibe that you could get. And it really kind of led me into using a lot of that to a lot of powders and frits to create like more realistic, yeah, tribal artifacts, I guess.
Okay. So paint me a picture of what the scene looked like to you when you first started blowing glass.
It was a race to the top, like it was a like yeah, we all were chasing the next tech, chasing the next big thing. Always, everybody was trying to like be the one that had the most skills and also could use them the best. And it seemed like there was definitely a lot of growth and expansion and just so many different directions that people were exploring at that point. And like everybody kind of wanted to be good at all of it. And yeah, it was an exciting time. It was less focused time, but it was an exciting time.
And what year was that when you
I
first started?
started in '01.
Oh, one. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, what was the main like consumption style? Was it all flour at that point? No dabs, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was pre-dabs. Like everybody was, like there was glass spoons and glass bongs and glass bubblers, and that was about it. Then,
Okay.
like, I mean, there were some hand pipes too. Like I had a all fumed sidecar that was pretty early on. It was like, I mean, before I blew glass, so like 97, 98, that like was just like mind blowing, the fume work in it and like the metallic. It was all inside out fume. So like it really, like all the dots had that three-dimensional, and the fume, just the way that it caught the light and the reflections on it. And it was, yeah, it was, yeah.
It's funny because I was really drawn to fume before I was a glass blower. Also,
Yeah.
I called it the pink glass. I always got the pink pieces, and I was
Yeah.
just like, these are sweet, man. But yeah, never really
I
got
mean,
it.
I'm old enough. I remember when my brother got his first, like, my brother bought a glass pipe before I did. He's a couple years younger than me. And he brought it, like, it was like a little spoon, like this big. And he brought it to my house, and, like, I got a glass pipe. We got a smoke out of this. And it was a Snodgrass. I didn't even know if it was made by Snod, but it was like back when they called them
Yeah,
Snodgrasses. And, like, he, like, showed up with this little, like, spin trail spoon that was, like, tiny, and, like, that was like the first time we had smoked out of glass, and it just changed everything, like before that, like the only glass I'd seen in our scene was like bongs, but nobody,
yeah.
nothing, something somebody was carrying around in their pocket.
That's really interesting, man. What do you feel like inspires your work the most right now?
Psychedelics.
Okay, great answer. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, psychedelics have been kind of a big part of my journey as an artist, as a, part of my spiritual journey, just part of my going back to like who we are in the universe, and where that puts me and what that means for me, and expressing that in my art. And um I like to create pieces that kind of recreate moments and experiences, and kind of bring other people into that world, that or other people that are maybe have had experience with that, and like they see imagery that really resonates with them from experiences they've had. It's Yeah, probably psychedelics is probably my biggest influence.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do outside of glass?
Smoke weed.
Okay, another great answer.
Yeah.
What about it specifically do you enjoy?
I just like the whole, like, I mean, I'm definitely someone that, has struggled with the attention stuff, like, I mean, these days I probably would have got diagnosed with ADD or something. And like when I started smoking weed, I went from having 75 things going in my brain at once to one. And like for the first time in my life could focus on something. And that really changed things for me. And then like as I explored that more, like discovering the culture in the like the marijuana world and the cannabis culture, and um really like feeling like I fit in there. And um yeah, and then becoming a glassblower, and like really like just feeling like that was a part of who I am and part of the Like, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, it's, I've had my ups and downs in this industry, and a lot of us have, but like, it's still my home and it's still my family. So, we're like a big old dysfunctional family. So,
Yes, we are. What is your favorite thing to make right now?
Millie, I would like love making Millie. It gives me like the opportunity to put to decorate my pieces with the imagery that really speaks to me, and to create like motifs and or scenes, or there's a lot of different directions I've went with the using Millie. And um I think that for me, like, the building Millies, when I found Millie, like I'd always kind of made small Millies for for projects and stuff before, but like when I really became like a Millie maker, like started like that was like I sold Millies and made Millies to sell. um it was kind of at a point in my career where things had kind of become stagnant, and like I was looking for new challenges, and I'd reached the point where, like, as the industry was moving to smaller rigs and less big gnarly stuff, like I was feeling that desire to push myself more, and like making bigger stuff was kind of becoming out of fashion, and like to get that same kind of like feeling of like growth and pushing myself wasn't happening on small rigs. And I mean, not saying that we didn't get there as an industry, but like in the beginning, early days, it was kind of like a almost like a step backwards. We were all making smaller stuff again, and like I wanted that high of like learning and pushing and growing. And like Millie kind of blew up at this moment where it just overnight became like the collector thing for, like became the baseball card for stoners, like
Mhm.
everybody had to have the new chip, and they all had to have their collection, and they were trading them back and forth. And it really like, it just was the right time at the right place. And like, I had done a lot of drafting and stuff, so I had that like three-dimensional like thinking already. And it just really like translated well for me to Millie. I just picked it up really quickly and excelled at it and enjoyed it. Like every new Millie for me was a new puzzle to solve. Like, how do I get these lines to match up when all this stuff intersects? Or like, how do I, there
Yeah.
was just it was a whole different set of things to learn than anything I'd learned on the torch. And so it just like really gave me a new direction to go that just fit me, and like was the right time at the right place. And like
Yeah.
it really was meant to be for me to like fall into that spot in the Millie world. So
I like that Heady Boy trading cards. I like that a lot. What do you hope the scene looks like in 10 years?
I hope that like, like some of the ups and downs have kind of mellowed back out, and everybody's kind of went back to finding their lane, and that we're back to looking for areas for progression, and people are really pushing to make artwork that they're proud of, and that um, we're all able to be comfortable feeding our families and taking care of ourselves while doing it.
Yeah. What do you feel more glass blowers should be paying attention to?
What's inside of them? I think that like there was definitely like a lot of panic. There still is around the industry being in flux. And I think a lot of people felt like they had to pull back. And I mean, I've done it too. Like we all kind of pulled back a little bit and started making stuff that wasn't quite as involved. And I think that like we've got to get back to where we're progressing and like really doing it for the right reasons. Like really our hearts are back in it. We're not all like making glass out of panic and trying to like figure out how to survive, but we're here because we love it still, like that's what keeps us all here, or else we would have all jumped ship and went and got real jobs,
Right. Yeah. Alrighty, man. Last question. What do you hope to accomplish in glass?
I hope to like make glass that makes people think about themselves and their place in the universe and what that means, and like who we what it means to be a person, and what it means to like be a human being. And yeah, I just want to make work that really like makes people think.
Great. Alrighty, thank you, man.
Yep.